I always had a saying that said, people respect those that don't respect them.
Now, that's not quite true. The idea of like people only respect those that don't respect them. It's again the understanding of like people respect people that aren't pushovers and that make them see their worth. And I know if in a male to female dynamic, a lot of guys don't get respected because they're not setting up things to let women see that they deserve respect. So something simple like this, right? A woman will be like, well, when can we go on a date? And the guy will be like, oh, we can go anytime. Right off the bat, you're showing her that your time is not to be respected. And so therefore, she doesn't now respect you because you're not setting boundaries and you're not saying, hey, I'm only available for these amount of time and I'm not going to just give you my time. Like until you show me that you're worth me giving more of my time, what am I doing? Versus if she says, so when can we go on a date? And you're like, okay, you know what? I'm busy this week, but I have free time on Tuesday and Thursday between 7 and 9 for like a quick meetup dinner. That lets her know, A, she only has a short amount of time to choose when to be with you, but also that you have other things going on. And that if she's not able to do either of those times, or if she agrees to a time and shows up late, there's a chance you may not ever see her again. I mean, you may not ever see him again because she's thinking, okay, if he set those two specific times, why doesn't he have other times available? Is he working? Is he seeing other women? I don't know, but he's giving me boundaries or he's giving me time frames. So that means I got to pick one of those, right? And so that will make a woman respect you faster on something as simple as you say, my time is limited, but I can do this. But men do not build that in for women. And we say things like, oh, I'm free anytime. And oh, we can go wherever you want, blah, 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 blah. How is it you're going to make a woman respect you if you're not setting things in place that show her you deserve respect? Food for thought.
Sounds crazy, but it's the truth. That goes for men and women. People respect those that don't respect them. It's a crazy world we live in. If you ask me, so much shit is backwards, so much shit is upside down. Like, I can't even explain it. I don't know why it's this way, but this is the world we live in. That saying...
Now, I get what he's saying, and especially in the realm of dating, to guys, a lot of things seem backwards. And the reason things seem backwards, and I learned this a long time ago, right, is because we're very direct people, and we think with analytical logic, and we operate on analytical logic. If we're analyzing something and it doesn't make sense, it either frustrates us or we don't want to do it, right? So, for example, you would think that opening up to a woman and telling her your feelings would make her understand that you have feelings for her. There's no more guessing about that. There's no more having to figure you out. If I just tell a woman after date 2, hey, you know what? I really like you. I can see this going someplace, that would be enough for her to put her at ease and say, oh, that's so great. Now I can just date this guy. I can get rid of all these other guys because I know that even though it's date number 2, he's really serious about me. And so therefore we can now just go on in a path towards a relationship, right? That makes analytical sense to a guy, which is why so many guys do it. And guy after guy will tell you when they came forth and told a woman that they liked her and blah, 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 that she just headed for the hills or she ghosted or she stopped answering back more, right? No guys tend to see this is a losing strategy. But why? Because we're working on analytical logic. They're working on emotional logic. All their decisions are going to be mostly based on how they're feeling in the moment. So on date 2, she doesn't have enough emotional data about you to want to actually choose you or decide you're the sole person she's going to date, right? And so that's why it feels backwards to guys, because we're like, I told her how I feel so I could get her to realize that I have feelings, and then I'm assuming she feels things back. Why isn't she now choosing me? Why is she getting rid of me? And what emotional logic says on their end is, why is this guy saying after 2 dates that he's already chosen me? He doesn't know me. He doesn't know my history. He hasn't spent time with me. So this makes no sense to me, right? And so it seems backwards. But really, what she's saying is, I need more time built in to choose this guy. And this guy thinks I'm crazy because I'm not choosing him already after 2 dates and maybe 6 hours of good conversation. Like, what's going on? And so that's why it feels backwards to us, because it's going against what we think should work. And that's why I tell you guys, what we think should work doesn't matter. All that matters is what actually works. It sounds stupid to get punished for sending a woman a good night text, or I had a good date text, or a good morning text, right? It seems asinine that we get punished for that by her ghosting us. It does not matter. What matters is, how does she feel about when I send her a good date text versus when I wait 4 days to contact her? What emotions is she feeling in those 4 days that's going to actually make her more attracted to me when she doesn't hear from me? And so once guys get out of their head that the way they think things should work should be the way they work, and start working towards but what things actually work, and then you start doing those things, you'll find you're going to get the results that you want from doing the opposite of what you think should work. And then that's all that matters. All that matters is, can you get the girl to, can you do the things that's going to cause the woman to build more attraction to you? And if you know those things, don't be mad that they're not the things you think you should be doing. Or, I feel dishonest because I would do them this way, but your way's not working. And it's not going to work with a person that has, that makes their decisions based on emotion. So you got to go with where she's emotionally at in her journey of dating you. So you, after 2 or 3 dates, saying we should be super serious. I got rid of my dating apps already. I only want to see you. I think you're great. On an emotional journey side, even you got to admit, you don't know everything yet. I've had women that I thought by date 2 were going to be like the end all be all. Then by date 4, something pops up. Oh my God, she's doing this thing and I can't emotionally handle that. But I let my analytical logic decide for me that I'm going to already choose her. And I just found out the 2 people, women have a better plan. Women's plan of going with their emotion about a thing and waiting it out is better. Now, it doesn't mean they always make sound judgments, because they could also make an emotional decision about a guy that's totally wrong for her. But that guy knows what things to make her feel to make that happen. And so I wrote a whole book about this, the No Girls For You, the ultimate guide to losing the girl of your dreams. It's a 12-chapter book, and all it talks about is all these things I thought I should do. They don't work, and here's why. And once I got over my ego having to be like, these things, I need to be able to do these things to get a girl, and be like, okay, if these things don't work, what works? And then finding that out, then fine. That worked better, stuck with that. Super simple.
Also goes in the dating world, I feel like. People love those that don't love them. And this
also not true. Well, it's not that doesn't happen. There are people that love somebody that doesn't love them. But what happens is this. On the guy side of things, guys, we fall fast and we fall hard. And so we try to rush things. And then that woman that we thought liked us back goes away. And we think, oh, everybody that I love, they end up going away. And we don't see the patterns of things that we're doing that chase away women that at one time had a very budding interest in us. So you got to look at that. You got to look at, am I calling too much, texting too much, asking too much of her? Am I telling her my feelings too soon? Am I trying to move things forward? A lot of guys after 2 dates are trying to move a woman into their apartment or house. Like, you got to look at what things are you doing that are potentially taking the love away. And yes, there are women out there that are just trying to use you for attention, and there are outliers out there that are just trying to, like, they get off on a bunch of guys liking them. But I have found more often than not that most women legitimately, if they agree to a date, if they agree to give you the number, they are legitimately seeing potential in you to go long distance. And guys aren't aware of the things they're saying on dates, how they're acting, how they're positioning themselves, what kind of things they're saying to women in terms of their feelings about stuff, what things they're letting the women get away with so the woman doesn't respect them. Like, these are things that guys aren't analyzing enough to where they just think it's just the girl's just crazy. And it's like, but you got to look at, if this is a pattern, if you go out with one girl and she just kind of heads for the hills, she's crazy. 5, 6, 7 women back to back, and that's still happening. It's a huge problem. All right. Something to consider.
Case, a lot of females that's talking, the message that they're putting out there is that majority of women want a man that they have to chase.
Yes, I've said this on the show repeatedly. If she's chasing you, she can't be replacing you. The thing that men and women don't buy into is this they think of chasing as like, well, she's got to do all the work and she's got to this and that. No, it's not having to force a woman to chase you at any given time. It's the fact that when women have high interest level, they can't help but chase. And so men think they have to create the ability for a woman to want to chase them. And that's what gets men in trouble. If you're trying to get a woman to chase you, and you think the way to do that is by doing all these things for her, what you're actually doing is chasing her. You trying to, I'm going to call her every day and text her every day. I'm going to do all things for her on a date and pay for all this money for all this other stuff. That's you chasing. That's you indicating to her that you feel you have to buy her attention, which puts her on the pedestal. And that's not what women want. If we talk about hypergamous nature, women are always looking for guys that are better than them, that are a level up from them. And that means that women are looking for guys that they can chase after. So you meet a woman at a party, you're having a good conversation back and forth, banter, banter, banter. She gives you those eyes. Maybe you make out, you get her number. At that point, she's hoping that she's going to get more of your attention. You going home, texting her right away, talking to her day after day, this and that. Now you're going to like, oh, you're chasing. Versus, again, what I would do, which is get the number. Even girls I would meet at parties, right? I'd wait 3 or 4 days if I reached out to them, because that gives them time to be like, I met this guy at a great party and he's not reaching out. And what do I need to do to get his attention? And all she's thinking about in those 4 days is what she needs to do to keep my attention should I decide to reach out. I reach out for a date. Oh, okay, let's go here, blah, 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 blah. On that date, what's happening? Kisses, hugs, maybe other stuff. Because now she's like, I need to prove to him that I should be contacted more. I should be kept around a lot longer. It always, always, always works better when the woman is chasing. But I think that men think, and therefore I also should not initiate. No, you still initiate. You're still hitting her up for dates. You're still planning where to go. It's just you're doing it at strategic times, and you're doing it at a pace that is slow. So that way, when you get her on that date, she's doing all the things to show you that she's got interest. Oh, she's the one suddenly wanted to touch you during conversation. She's the one wants to walk next to you during conversation. She's the one that wants to look at your lips and kiss you and stuff like that, because that's how women chase, is by they hint and they give body language. And that's why I tell you guys, as you learn women's body language, you'll realize women that have high interest in you have been chasing you this entire time. If you couldn't recognize it, that's on you. But that's why I got a whole program called the Get Girls Academy at harrywilmington.com for y'all to check out.
They want a man that they have to tame, if you will. The good guy isn't as appealing. He's not a turn on because he comes relationship ready.
Yes. And why is it that women don't like that? Because here's the thing. Women want to feel special. And if you come as if you're already relationship ready, it's saying to her that however you are in a relationship isn't going to fit to her. You're trying to get it to fit to every woman, and that doesn't make her feel special. So you guys coming to the table, already giving them things, already willing to buy them things, whatever. To them, it feels like a script. It feels like she could have been anybody, and you would have done the same stuff. And so women don't want to feel that. That's why I tell you, it's better for them to earn the things that you're willing to give in a relationship, because then if they earn it, then they'll feel like when you do give it to them, it's catered to them specifically. Again, it sounds backwards. It sounds dumb to guys, but I've just found that it works better that way for women. Women would rather work hard for you to text them every other day and feel like, oh, that's progress, and I made him do that because now he's catering his texting program to me, than if you were to just hit her up after that date that night with a good night text. And the next morning, she's gonna feel like, oh, he does this for every girl. That's not special at all. Again, you're thinking your actions are the things that's going to make them feel special. No, it's them thinking that your actions are catered specifically to what they need that's going to make it feel special.
He comes with morals, with respect. He comes valuing, putting you on a pedestal, treating you the way he would think that you would want to be treated.
Women don't want to be on pedestals. Women don't want to think that you see that they're above you, because the reality is women want to follow your lead. And if she's above you, it's like she's thinking you're going to want her to lead the relationship. And she doesn't want that. It's too much work, too much pressure.
And as you can hear these females saying in this clip, a lot of women don't like that. It's sad, it's unfortunate, but that's the way of the world.
Well, it's not sad. It's just, understand, as I've said before, women are trying to explain concepts out loud to men that they can't really properly express because it's an emotional feeling that even they themselves don't quite understand. Like the thing of like women saying, I don't know, it's just something about like a toxic guy. Like, oh, I'll go to the example. Let's see, this is 413. I'll come back to this. So this girl right here saying this part right here.
It's really boring because he treats me so good, which like common sense, like you want to be treated good from a guy. But when you get treated good, it's kind of like boring. And don't hate me, but I do love toxic. And I don't mean like super bad, but I like some spice in my life. And yeah, that's why I kind of don't like my type of guys anymore. I like somebody who like I don't mean mistreats me in a bad way, but you know what I mean by toxic? Yeah, that's.
So the sad part is, as a guy, you'll hear that and be like, none of what she said makes sense. I am fluent in womanese, thanks to Doc Love, thanks to my years growing up around women. So the earlier part that she said here, she said, it's really boring. You want to be respected, but whatever. You want to be treated good, but it's boring. What she's saying is nice guys are predictable. I don't want to be in a relationship that is so predictable. Also, I haven't had to earn any of the benefits this guy gives me, so they're not a surprise. Like, he automatically surprises me with vacations and he automatically buys me flowers every day and blah, 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 blah. Like, yeah, things that become monotonous and predictable aren't respected. And then also the part where she says that it's boring. So that's code for, again, this guy's not pulling any surprises. And also he's a suck up. He's very easy to manipulate. And so those are things that women find boring. So women then assume that they want a toxic guy because a toxic guy is going to at least bring some livelihood into a relationship and a little spice and a little life. And that's where women have it skewed because they think that only toxic men have those things. But to be fair, in their dating experience, all these nice guys are sucking up to them and giving them what they want and giving it to them very, very early in the dating process, which makes them boring. They've worked for nothing. So I found as a guy, all I had to do is be like, okay, let me get over how I feel about, am I being dishonest for not giving them this and that? What do women want? Okay, so a woman wants me to treat her nice, but she doesn't want it to be predictable. And also, she wants to earn it. Okay, fine. So for those first few dates, I won't pick her up. I'll let her be the one to say to me, hey, can you pick me up? For those first few dates, I'm not buying flowers. I'm not going to talk to her about any kind of feelings I have because I shouldn't have any feelings early on. Like, I'm going to keep her guessing. And then after the dates, I'm not going to text her. I'm going to wait 4 or 5 days before I reach out to her, which isn't a mean thing to do, but it's unpredictable. And it's making her ponder, what is it that she didn't do on that date? And how dare I leave her in the dark about things she could do better and blah, 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 blah. And it gives the feeling that a toxic guy would give without actually being toxic, standing up for myself. If she says, I want to go here, and I'm like, but I already chose a dating place. We're going over here, but I want to go. Well, then tough crap. We're not going anywhere. Like, oh, she's not wanting to be treated rude, but she wants a guy that's going to stand up for himself and not be an easy pushover, right? But women don't know how to word that. So they just think, I got to tell these guys that I want a toxic guy, but not really toxic, but you know what I mean? And women will know what she means. And guys, we will not. But now you know, when women are saying, I want a toxic guy that's gonna like treat me bad, but not really, she's saying that she wants a guy that's gonna stand up for her and not let her get away with bratty behavior and put her in her place when she needs to. And the reason that seems toxic is because most nice guys are afraid to do that and won't do that. And we think if I push up against her, then that's going to be toxic. And that's not toxic, but we've been made to believe it's toxic. And so that's what she's actually talking about. Anyway, back to this guy's thing. See, 413. Here we go. Okay.
Almost every guy has experienced this or some form of it at some point in your life. I've had females that I was head over heels for, or, I was really into, really liked. I came in with the teachings that I learned growing up as a kid, watching Disney, listening to my mother, seeing in the movies.
All right, he's already messing up. Learn from Disney, bad. Listen to mom, worse. Because moms, I'm telling you guys, moms more often than not give the worst dating advice, especially if it's like a single mom or a mom that's been scorned, because all her advice is going to be the treatment she wished her husband or boyfriend had given her, but it's not treatment that she needed during the dating phase to actually be attracted to them. And so guys will hear, you should treat her like this and blah, 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 blah. And then they'll go do that for women that they're dating. And again, in the dating phase, it's too much too soon and they get pushed away. Moms are describing treatment that they want from a long-term situation. And even then, if they're single, clearly it wasn't the behavior that they needed, especially if she's the one that got rid of him, So him saying Disney movies and the mom already, I'm like, oh, I could see how you'd be messing up.
Words hard on my sleeve, treating them like a lady.
Hard on the sleeve. So automatically saying, just, like I'm a sensitive soul and I feel you, this and that. Women don't want that. Women don't want you to wear your heart on your sleeve because it makes you seem feminine. And of the two of you, She wants to be the one wearing the feminine badge. Men hear that and think, so I can't ever tell my feelings or show sensitivity. Well, one, women want you to be sensitive to them. They don't care about your sensitivity. We're being real. They don't care. They don't care that you cry. They don't care that you have these feelings. They really do not care. And men think that that's callous, but the reality is that they're more about their feelings and you being there for them. And also, sorry to say, you showing your feelings on your sleeve is indicative of, I want to tell them how I feel and that when I cry and I hurt and this is that. What are women looking for out of men? They're looking for men that are stoic, that know how to handle business and handle when dangers come. So you being extra emotional about things doesn't give them, on a base primal level, the feeling that you're going to be the person they can go to if something dangerous happens. Not to say you can't ever express feelings, but again, this is why I stress it's better for you to show your feelings through actions versus words, because they're going to interpret anything you do as 3 times more. So when you directly say it, they're feeling more than you're saying. You could say, I just really think you're the most beautiful girl I've ever seen, and I just really appreciate the way you treat me. Early on in the dating process, that feels like you're ready to marry her, which is why you shouldn't say it. You can show it. You can be like, I just want to show my appreciation the other day for you making waffles. So here, we're going on a date to Disneyland. Oh my God, that's amazing. That's a better action to do than to verbalize some stuff.
I'm like a queen, and
again, automatically treating them like a queen. And she's thinking, what did I do to deserve this behavior? Well, it's just because you're a woman. And so that doesn't make her feel special.
It didn't always work in my favor. I used to not understand, like, dudes who treated them like trash, or the dudes that they knew were dogs, they knew were sleeping with tons of women. These were the dudes they were chasing.
Yeah. Why is that? Well, let's go back to this. He says she knew he was sleeping with a lot of other people. Men hear that and think that's gross. Why would she want to be with a dude that banged a lot of chicks? And what a woman thinks is social proof. Other women chose him, and therefore, on a subconscious level, he must know what to do with women. Now, in the long run, they find out that's not true. He's got a bit of an attitude problem, etc. But in the short term, all these other women choosing him makes her think, but what is it about him that these women are choosing? And then she thinks, and what is it about me that he hasn't chosen me? Like, he's choosing all these other chicks. Am I not in the same running? Again, stuff that sounds stupid to us, but if you know this, then you'll know how to set yourself up to be the kind of guy that walks through the world and gives women the impression that you get other women, even if you don't. I've had dry spells where it's like, but I'm carrying myself where if I go to a party, a woman just assumes he must be the hot crap because all the women there are talking to him and they seem like they have a good time. So he must be the guy. I want to get with him. Like, you have to get into that frame of mind. Again, you got to stop looking at the perspective of how you as a man would look at it and function, and really think about, but how are they viewing things? Why are they making these decisions? Again, it's not that they're choosing toxicity, where that's just the surface level stuff. What they're picking is the other things that him doing says about him as a man. So he's thinking, what did he say? Let me go back here real quick. He said,
were dogs, they knew were sleeping with tons of women. Not understand, like, dudes who treated them like trash, or the dudes that they knew were dogs.
So the part about women treating dudes that treat them like trash, but what he's actually not seeing is that what that tells her is, oh, this is a guy that I can't roll over. This is the guy that I can't manipulate. This is the guy that's going to do his own thing, regardless of what I feel about it. And also understand, when women come to us with stories about this guy did this and he's trash, that is one side of the story. When, as guys, we're going to automatically assume and believe that what she's saying is gospel and this guy was actually trash. And the reality is he could just be moving in a way that she doesn't like, but her not liking it doesn't mean he's treating her like trash. Her not getting her way from him doesn't mean that he's treating her like trash. It just means that she's not getting what she wants out of the situation. And more importantly, being treated like that doesn't lessen her attraction. And that's where I think as guys, we think if he's treating you like trash, why would you still like him? Those things don't correlate, because that's all perception. And one person's trash could be another person's, oh, he just didn't do what I liked, you know?
Dogs, they knew were sleeping with tons of women. These were the dudes they were chasing. Everything that good guys were willing to do, they didn't want. They wanted it from the guys that weren't willing to do that. From the guys that they had to damn near beg to do that.
What's the translation of that? They're going after guys that are making them work for the benefits that they want. And you don't have to be a mean guy or a jerk to do that. Again, like I said earlier, it's something simple as like, standing up to a woman or a woman. I've had plenty of guys write me like, this girl, I've dated her for like 4 weeks and she keeps saying that she wishes I would text her more. And my response is like, but is what you're doing right now keeping her around? Yes. Is it working? Yes. Is she still saying yes to dates? Yeah. So just because she's frustrated that you're not texting her as much as she'd like, she can be frustrated about that. It's not taking away from her attraction. So keep doing that. Like, and again, and that's one of those things where it could feel like if you don't acquiesce to that, you're being a jerk. Jerks get women, and you saying to a woman, this is how I text and I don't text, and I'm not going to acquiesce to that. That's not anything toxic. If how you text is the way you want to keep doing it, and she doesn't like it, she can kick rocks. But she's going to darn well respect you for how you want to do things.
It took a couple heartbreaks in my younger years for me to start to really understand this concept. When I stopped caring, when I became that guy, when I became the dog, the bad guy, whatever you want to call it, I started getting or receiving the love that I was looking for back when I was the quote-unquote nice guy, the quote-unquote good guy.
Now, here's the thing, right? Because I've seen this happen. You know, a guy says, you know what, I'm going to buy. But here's the thing. And I've learned this too, right? As a guy that tried to go through like, F these women, this is that phase or whatever. It's what you learn if you're smart is it's not the toxic parts that the women were attracted to. That's just more toxic guys have the traits women want. And so women assume they like toxic guys. But as I've said, things like standing up for yourself, not being a pushover, telling her, hey, we're going to go do a thing. Don't ask questions, whatever. Like doing things like that are the things that attract women because you're being a leader. You're not letting her push you over. And you can be that guy without being the a-hole guy. And guys think I got to become a whole a-hole in order to have women fall in love. No, you just have to be better than the toxic guy, but still not be a pushover like the nice guy. And if you can merge those two worlds together, you will find you can get benefits because women out here, I have found they do want a guy that's going to treat them well. They just don't want it to be at the expense of them being suck-ups. And that's where women lose respect is when the guy feels like a suck-up, where it feels like he's doing scripted stuff to try to keep her around and all that kind of stuff, you know?
And it baffled me because by that time, I didn't want it no more. I was good. Like, I didn't want it. Like, I didn't even look at you the same no more. And that's when I started understanding the psychology of it. An older gentleman told me once, he said, you could either love them or you can understand them, but you can't do both. And
now, I will say that is a lie, but what will happen is this, because I've observed this with myself, right? As you become more analytical about the dating process, like all my dating processes now is like zeros and ones. Like it's just, you do this, you get that, and do these things, don't do these things, whatever, right? And you come to a logical conclusion about what things are going to work and what things are not going to work. And you go into like, okay, you go on a date. Okay, I know to say this thing. I know to do this thing, to look out for this thing. Here's how I get her to want to touch me, all this other stuff, right? You'll find that the idealistic version of love that you may have had goes away, which can make it feel less emotional. Like I'm very much less of an emotional person when it comes to people that I'm with. I don't have these Disney fantasies. I'm not thinking like, oh, I'm going to just head over heels. It's just kind of like, but I also recognize that I'm putting these processes in place for women that I want to get with because I potentially feel love for them, right? But I've learned not to have it at the intense level to where I get completely blinded by my emotions to where I make dumb decisions. So as you become more analytical in your love process, the way that you love is going to feel different. And that can make you think, oh, I must not love her because I understand how she functions and what I do. But just understand that part of the reason you're doing those processes for that woman is because you love her. And just because it's not this high intensity love or this, your love is not going to be as equated with feelings as it is with like loyalty and duty. But the process you're putting forth, you're doing because you love that person. So I can very much be with a person and I've done all the things I can to understand how to maneuver with that person and how to be with that person, and understand that I'm doing that because I care for them immensely, but I'm not going to be tripped up by the emotional aspect of love. And I think in the United States, we've put so much focus on like emotional love is the real love. And it's like, no, duty love, loyalty love, love of family, love of friends, those are all real loves too, even if they're not having these heightened emotions that come with them.
When you start to understand women, it's going to be harder and harder for you to find one that you truly love, because now you understand the psychology of how things work. And
I wouldn't say it's necessarily harder. It's going to be harder to accept bull crap from women, because, like, for example, right now you might be a guy that you meet up a girl and she's had trauma. She came from a bad family environment, but you're like, oh, but I could still be with her and she could eventually change those things, right? You're very idealistic, right? After you learn the things, like, for example, I teach you guys, if you date women with trauma, the chances of them getting over that trauma and having it not affect the relationship are very, very slim. So I just find that I don't like to date women with trauma. And I found it's made my dating life immensely easier, right? And so now, if you go on dates, you might date like 4 or 5 women that back to back to back. Each one of these women you go on a date with have on that first date are telling you about some trauma that they had. And you're like, crap, I wanted to bang her, I wanted to date her, and now I hear this trauma. Oh, I can't date her. But you're better for it in the long run. You are better for it being able to understand women enough to know which ones to get rid of, because you'll get rid of them a lot faster and waste your time less, versus if you didn't know that and you're dating a woman for like 6 months to a year before you realize, I mean, I saw she was toxic on date 1, but I thought I could make it work, and I realized I can't. So now you'll know on date 1, oh, she said she has trauma. She said she's been abusive in relationships. Oh, I'm out. Like, you'll be out and you'll be mad if you don't get that hookup. But you know what'll also happen? You will not have had that hookup. You won't have that soul tie. You won't have this person trying to stalk your pages or get you on the phone later and tell all these stories about you. Like, it's better to know, even though you'll be getting rid of a lot more women faster, because you'll be able to tell off date 1 or 2 how toxic this person is. And with relationship to that, like how bad they're going to be for your life.
sometimes that might not always sit right with you. I know guys who have gained this understanding and they said they can never see themselves being in a serious relationship or being married ever in life because they know how the system works. And sadly, unfortunately, in most cases, not all, they know once the next guy comes around who poses more of a challenge, there's a high probability of you getting left or getting cheated on. And some men don't want to deal with that.
Now, here's the reality with respect to that, right? Because I've experienced, for example, men will say things like, well, all women want a guy that earns 6 figures and has 6-pack abs and drives a 6 and all this other stuff, right? And what I've experienced is that, like Doc Love used to say, high interest level cuts everything. I have dated women who made more money than me that had high interest level. And we go to parties or functions or networking events, and other guys would be there that had more money, maybe looked a little better than me, had a far higher paying station in life or whatever. And the woman I was with would still be on me like a sucker fish, because the reality is, when a woman has high interest, she sees you as the end all be all. Now, the problem I think most men have, just being honest, is that we're more likely to be willing to settle if we can just get any kind of touch or feel from women, right? So we end up settling for women that, if we were completely honest, didn't fully have high interest in us. Maybe early on, they were kind of flaky early on dates, or they're not really touchy-feely with us. They're only wanting to hook up with us once or twice a week and stuff like that. But we're accepting them because it's better than nothing. And we're not aware, oh no, we didn't get a woman that had high interest. We had a woman that had middling interest, but maybe she didn't want to be single her whole life, or she wanted kids quicker, and you were just the guy that was willing to put that forth or whatever like that. And so as guys, we don't do enough of a due diligence to really look at how high is her interest level. And there are things women will do that'll make it glaringly obvious that they have a very super high interest level, to where they're not going to be dissuaded by if you lose your job, or dissuaded by if you don't have a certain type of car or whatever, right? But we're not patient enough to find those women and seek them out and keep them. And so we end up losing out with women that are just kind of like settling for us. And so, and not to say that there are women out there that just end up being trashy women, but they're able to hide it for a long period of time. I just found more often than not, within that first 3 months of dating, somebody's going to show their cards. And so that's why you shouldn't be rushing into a relationship. You should be really taking your time to really ask questions, to really see what her family life is like, what her day-to-day life is like, how she treats servers and waiters and all this other stuff before you decide on her, because then those things are going to give you a better read at how she's going to be long-term. And if she's a woman that's potentially loyal and has a good attitude, or is disloyal and is going to be like arguing with you all the time.
For me though, I'm somewhere in the middle. I understand the gentlemen who say they're never getting married, they're never going to be in a relationship or never take anything serious. Like,
I'm not that guy. I've seen too many friends and family of mine that get into relationships that go on to have long-term marriages that are happy and fruitful. And so that's why I don't teach you guys. I don't tell you guys, like, you know, in spite of the stuff I may say about women, about like, oh, women can be like this, they can be annoying this way, that way. I'm not the guy that's going to be like, and you should never have a long-term relationship. You should never get married. I'm saying do as much due diligence up front as you can with anybody you date. Be realistic about, you know, you might have an ego hurt if you realize that your girl maybe doesn't have as high interest in you as you have in her. Get rid of her now. Don't be like, but I can make her get rid of her now. Like, because you need to understand that there are women out there. I'm telling you, there are women out there. You'll meet them. You'll take them out for 2 or 3 months. They'll build up high enough interest to where you can do no wrong in their eyes. And it is far better to get in that situation than it is to settle for somebody that you think, you hope in the future will have more interest. Don't do that. Don't fall for that trap.
I know where that comes from. I understand why they feel like that. But one piece of advice I will give is don't let anyone change who you are or make you feel like you have to change who you are. Always.
Okay. You know how I feel about this, guys, but suffice to say, partially yes to his thing, but also recognize that there may be things about you in your current iteration that need work. You know, I'm never the guy that's going to be like, you should always just be your complete self and just be how you are right now, because we could all use some work. You know, I'm still working on trying to talk slower because people comment on that all the time. It may never happen, but it's an ongoing work in progress. So I could be the guy that's like, but this is how I talk and F you and blah, 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 blah. It's worth working on. So in your life, maybe you don't dress that well, or maybe your conversations on dates consist of you monologuing to women and not putting a break in your conversation. Or maybe you tell sexual jokes and you're not aware of it. Or maybe you're the opposite. Maybe you don't say enough on these dates where women are like, he doesn't give good conversation. Or maybe you touch women too early on dates and you're not aware of it. Like, if you're getting consistently bad results, then how you are right now, while you could be a great person, there are some rough edges that need to be sanded down and, yes, changed in order for you to be a person that's not only be a better person in the course of being out in the world, but it's also going to work better for women at large. So yeah, don't change the core of who you are unless you just have like some really bad core thoughts or ideas about yourself. But consider that change is not a bad thing. We are always evolving. Sometimes it just means evolving from doing certain habits or being certain ways to being other ways that are going to elevate your lifestyle and also being able to get more women as a result.
Be true to who you are. If you a guy that wants marriage, wants a family, you come across the people we seen in the beginning of this video, bro, look at it as a sign. Be thankful for it. Every heartbreak I experienced or every letdown, I eventually became so grateful to God that he allowed that to happen, because if not, right now I'll be stuck in situations that would probably be destroying me.
That's an interesting observation, because I have also noticed as an older guy that like there are women either I had crushes on or that I dated in the past, ranging from like high school to my 30s, where I was just like, oh, I wish this could work out. Oh, I'm so distraught. I'm so heartbroken. And looking now at like where their lives ended up, or even just looking at like, you know, simple things like they ended up having kids. I don't want kids. They live in different states that I would never want to live in. It's like, oh, either I dodged the bullet or, oh, we had different pathways that were meant to do different things. And that's totally fine. You know, so I look back on the misses and I'm just like, there's been better things that have come along since then that I wouldn't have gotten into, that I'm grateful for, that I'm able to experience. So those older situations not working out ended up being for the best, you know, but that also boils down to life truly is what you make of it. If something doesn't work out with the woman, you can decide to be butthurt about that and it just crashes your world. Or you can say, you know what, I'm going to learn from this what I can, whether it's stuff I need to change about myself or situations I need not put myself in again, and then use that to better myself for the next situation. It all depends on how you look at it.
Emotionally, mentally, financially, you name it. So you gotta be grateful when God allows these people to hurt you or do whatever they do that causes you to walk away, or even when they walk away, because that's him cleaning out your life from the toxicity, from things that don't serve you, from things that aren't good for you.
And I appreciate he is saying this from a perspective of like, the guys he's talking to, like, you are getting away from toxicity. You are getting away from bad situations. You are blah, 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 blah. And that's what we do as humans. We say, well, we try to put stuff towards a narrative that makes us look good in the best possible light. And, but that's why I always try to tell you guys, yes, look at the women that you're dating and, look at, maybe you weren't supposed to be in that situation, but also always look at like your part in stuff. Were you the toxic person in that situation? Were you the one that was pushing an agenda too fast that maybe she wasn't ready for? You always got to look at like your side of stuff too, because we don't want to put everything on the women. Women do their fair share of stuff that Lord knows is like, what are you doing? But also look at, but what are we doing also that maybe we could work on?
It kind of helps you decipher who's who. There's still good people left out here. Are they harder to find? Absolutely. I'll tell you one thing. They are not on social media. You know what I'm saying? But be thankful when people like that expose their hand, when their true colors start showing, especially if you don't got no ties to that person, you ain't got no kids, you're not married to them. Man, run.
And real talk, guys, do it faster. Like most guys I've talked to, let's say they were dating somebody for like 2 or 3 years, and then it was like a tumultuous breakup. If I could ask them, so were there any red flags early on that you saw? And this happened for me too, right? Where if we look back, we can honestly say, if I'm being honest with myself, that first or second date, this person said this thing or did this thing, and at the time I just kind of brushed it off or said, I can handle it. You really got to start looking early on it, like, but what are they saying or doing or putting out there that could indicate they're potentially going to be a bad partner? This doesn't mean you like judge every single little negative thing they may have done, but like look at things like, I remember a time I dated a woman on date 3. She was like, yeah, I was in an abusive relationship once. I mean, he beat me, but I also beat him up. The next date I was out. Like I couldn't do it anymore. I was like, oh, you're already saying you're abusive? I don't need to be around this, but I've seen people that'll hear that, and then like 2 years later, I can't believe she abused me. But dude, she told you that she did this. So things to look out for very early on.
Run, don't lose sight of you. Don't give up hope, but get out of those situations as fast as you can. People like that will never be able to truly appreciate somebody that loves them. Even more than that, these are people that don't love themselves. They don't value themselves. That's probably a deeper psychology.
Now, going back to what he was saying earlier about the women early on saying that they wanted toxic guys. Yes, there are women out there, regardless of, I've said the thing of like, it's not that they want toxic guys. They just want a guy that has certain traits that toxic guys have, but it's not necessarily the negative traits, right? But there also are some women that want toxic men. They grew up in trauma, like I said in the video earlier that they clipped to this, that some women's comfort zone is trauma, meaning that they don't know how to function in anything else other than, oh, I subconsciously am more comfortable around guys that abuse me or do drugs and alcohol, X, Y, and Z, right? And so those women, there's no helping them. There's no saving them. And you thinking you're going to be the guy that comes along and shows them a different path, that is work that they need to do on their own. That is their job. It is not your job to try to show them better, because what's going to happen is if you're not careful, they're going to bring their toxicity into your life, and then you're going to be the one that is full of toxicity, and you're going to wonder where it came from. And it's kind of like this. I did this in a TikTok video. Let me pull this up for a second. So I did a TikTok video where I talked about this, right? So I went to Kenya 2 months ago. I got this mug, right? So this mug, I went to this village in Kenya where they carve statues and doodads and mugs. And then what they do is they'll sell them to people in the shop, right? And I really like this mug. Like this mug, look at the artwork on this. Look at this. The zebras. This is all handcrafted, carved from wood directly, and then painted on and stuff, right? And I was like, man, look how big this mug is. I would love to be able to drink out of this mug, get a big old cup of tea, and be able to just sit there and sip this while I'm doing the show. Be freaking great, right? Cost me like $15. So I bought the mug. I bring it back to the States. And I go to wash it because I make sure to wash all my stuff before I drink out of it, right? So I go to wash this cup. When I wash it, I pour out the water, and I notice the water is yellow. And I was like, that's strange. And sometimes my pipes get a little weird. So I checked another glass to make sure it wasn't the water. I poured water into a glass, totally clear, poured it out, still clear, right? So then I said, okay, maybe it just had a little remnant. I needed to wash out again. So I washed this mug out again, put some soap in there, wash it out, pour it out, yellow, more yellow water. And so I washed this thing for a solid 10 minutes thinking eventually it's going to stop showing yellow water. And I kept washing it. I kept pouring it out, yellow every single time. So now at this point, I have a really nice looking mug that I can't drink out of because I don't want to drink yellow water. I don't know if it's like maybe the inside of it, they varnish in a certain way to where it's like, that's just happening nonstop, but it's like, it ruined the mug for me. I can't do anything with it in spite of how much I really want to drink out of it. And so the same thing is true with toxic women, right? Toxic women who like toxic things like this mug. They're attractive on the outside. They look really good. And most guys are just being like, yep, I like this woman. I'm going to go ahead and just, and they're not checking to see if, wait a minute, on the inside of her, like mentally, obviously, like, is she all there? Is she a woman that like can be loyal? Has she had a whole lot of bodies? Did she have a traumatic past with family members and friends and stuff like that? And if she has, then she could look as good as she wants to. She's going to be a problem because her toxicity is going to eventually pour into your life, whether you like it or not. And it's going to cause a lot of problems for you, you know? And so you as a guy got to be mindful. Yes, there are women out there that chase after toxic guys. You cannot be Superman with the cape. You cannot save her. You can try to be the most nicest guy you can. I can assure you there's going to come a point in time when she's going to try to start arguments and start fights, and she's going to be yelling at you, and she's really yelling at previous trauma she had. Maybe her father wasn't there. Maybe her father was abusive or whatever, but she's going to be yelling at you and bringing toxicity to you and wanting to do drugs and alcohol around you and trying to get you to do that stuff because as good as she looks, she's toxic on the inside. So this is why, guys, again, you got to do your due diligence. You can't just assume every woman you see that you want to bang is a good choice because some women out there only want toxic dudes and they have their own toxic lifestyles. And unfortunately, as pretty as they are, as much as you want to be with them, they're not going to be a good candidate in the long run. And all you can control is if you see something toxic and you're able to get to know the inside of it, and then you decide, I still want to be with her because she still looks pretty. You can do that. That's your right to do that. You're going to have a bad time. But anyway, so I just wanted to analyze some of that guy's video because I appreciated him putting me in his video. I thought it was freaking cool, right? So that's the first time I've ever seen that happen. So appreciate you, guy. And again, see his channel one more time. His channel is called My Life with with Maurice. It's this Thinking Out Loud channel. So definitely go check out his stuff. He does a really, really good job on his channel. I like his stuff so far. Hey there. Thanks for tuning in to Harry Dating Convos. Don't forget to visit harrywomington.com to download my free ebook, Texting Women Like a Boss. And while you're there, if you're ready to take things to the next level with your dating life, check out the Get Girls Academy membership program for exclusive strategies and live coaching. Go to harrywomington.com to learn more and join today. Lastly, if you've got a question you'd like answered on one of these shows, leave a comment below or write me at harrywomington@gmail.com. I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.